Hey friends, today I have 3 Easter home decor DIYs made with some Dollar Tree items. They turn out absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to share them with you. I'm Whitney with Crafty Thoughts and Whatnots, and thank you for joining me today. So, our first DIY. Now, I'm going to do these 2 together, but we end up having 3 DIYs out of this. So, here is these 2 egg containers. I've got a larger one. That's this plastic green one here, and then I've got this smaller one that's got some shiny pink. Now, just says egg container that I got at Dollar Tree, and this pink one here, actually, you can set it 2 ways, vertical or horizontal. I planned on making that a vertical piece, but it ended up being horizontal, but we'll show you the process start to finish. So I wanted to cover them. So first things first is I'm going to use my hot glue, and I'm just going to seal her up so that she doesn't come undone. I did burn myself doing that, and for some reason, once I put the hot glue on there, it didn't want to stick together. So we did okay. Everything's fine. So now we're going to take the prep on the green one here, and the green one is going to be 2 pieces. So this right here, I'm putting some styrofoam in here because I'm filling up the middle because we're going to attach this clear one here to a sign. I'm going to make it its own little decor piece on one of a Dollar Tree sign that I have. And then our green base will leave empty. But for the one that I'm going to attach to the sign, I needed to fill up the empty space with some styrofoam so that it has something to attach to. So I'm putting extra pieces in my styrofoam junk bucket. And then I put a couple dowels in there because everything is just held in with hot glue. Now, the hot glue is fine because this is plastic, so it melts the plastic a little bit, melts the styrofoam. We get a good bond. Nothing ever, nothing falls apart. Now, those all have been prepped. Now we're going to move on to the bottom half of our larger green container. What I'm going to do is take the Dollar Tree nautical rope that you can get. It's the cotton, it says decorative cotton rope. And I'm going to cover the base of the egg like you would many times you've seen people do, and even myself here on the channel. I've done some Halloween pumpkins in it. This nautical rope and the cotton is universal. I've seen lots of people cover items with it. So all I did was I laid it flat so that I could line up the rope at the bottom to make sure that I had a flat surface to sit on, because if I put the rope too far on the bottom, it wouldn't sit properly. So you'll see here that I kind of hold it down on the surface while I'm gluing it to that first row. And then after that, I'm just taking my glue, running it along the side, making sure that I have the proper amount of glue and making sure that the rope is sitting on top of itself, because you don't want to be able to see that green through there. Now, you guys, the transition here from one strand to the next actually went pretty bad for me. I usually have had some pretty successful projects in the past you've seen, but this one was not good. You could see exactly where they left off. The rope was not working with me. It was fraying up a lot. But I got it done. We're going to cover up the boo-boos, and I'm going to show you that. Now, to cover up the bottom, because I do not want that bright green showing anywhere, I'm going to take a piece of scrap felt. I got this little, it's like an 8x10 or 8x11 sheet you can get at any craft store, probably Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I got this, but I'm going to take it. I'm just going to trace it out with a pencil. And then I'm going to make just a regular hand cut with some scissors, and it covers it enough to where I'm happy with it. So it does give it a finished look, because you guys know I go for the whole clean up the back, hide the boo-boos, hide the oopsies. So I'm very happy with this. Now that we have our base finished, we are still kind of not happy. There's some pieces here where you see the rope kind of dips down a little bit lower on one side than the other. So I'm going to take some jute rope that I have. So I grabbed this jute, oh my gosh, words, the jute rope. I got that off of Amazon, by the way, but you can get jute rope pretty much anywhere. And I'm going to add a couple layers to the top, and that's just to hide the green type of, the green plastic that we have on there. It's not necessarily a requirement, but this is just how I was able to compensate for, my eyes weren't happy yet, and I didn't like that it was showing. We are going to put a floral arrangement in here, as you've seen probably from the thumbnail or my Instagram feed post. I am going to put flowers in here, but they don't cover everything completely. I've been really liking filling things up, to the point where you can see the Spanish moss and it looks like you've got like a cute little garden pot type feel going on. That's the stuff that's making me happy these days. So here's where I'm fixing it. I'm just taking a little strip of that same jute rope or twine, and I'm just securing it in the middle after making a couple loops. And this is how I'm covering up the ending, or where the 2 pieces come together. So this one on the back, I'm going to show you next. I did the exact same thing. I'm wrapping it in the middle. I'm just taking a piece, and then I'm gluing it over top of that oopsie, so that way you can't see it. This made me happy, and now the focal point is taken away from where you can obviously tell that I put two strands of rope. One ended and one began, so can't see that anymore. So that's usually how I'll try to cover something up. Or I would have glued another flower to the top of it to make it look like something was cascading down the side. There's always a way to hide what you've done, you guys. That sounds very bad. It's like you mix something up, you can hide it. But in a pretty good, happy way, right? This is a block of Dollar Tree foam. Now, this isn't the normal styrofoam I buy. This is actual like floral foam, but in any event, it still works. It's foam. It's you know, it'll be okay. It's okay. Just use what you got on hand. Now, this is my Spanish moss that I get at Hobby Lobby. I like this bright green color. It makes me happy. So I'm just filling the top of this up. And because this one is a little bit taller as far as the styrofoam comes up pretty much to the edge, I did use some floral pins right there, about 4 of them. So that helps the Spanish moss stay in. And now we're going to use all these greens. So I have a eucalyptus bush I got at Walmart some years back. And what I'm doing is I'm just cutting them off closer to where the bundles are, and I'm just gluing them all in. Everything in here is being glued into the project. This is a permanent arrangement. I won't be taking it apart, and I will leave it as it is. I thought about adding more stuff to it, but it's already in an egg, so I thought adding more eggs might be a little overkill, so I didn't do that. Now this is a bush of, I'm not sure what they are. I don't think they're lilacs, but they're just these pretty fluffy white flowers. I got that at Joann's many embarrassing years ago. So I'm sure we all have stash items that we've had for so long that you probably either don't remember or it doesn't matter kind of thing. And then the rest of these things I'm going to add here, these are all goodies from Dollar Tree. So again, we have a mixture of Walmart, Joann fabrics, and Dollar Tree florals, and they end up complementing each other so nicely. And like even a couple of the times I look at Dollar Tree florals and I think, you know, they're not that nice, but you can get away with just using them as layering or using them as filler. They're not the focal point. I'm just layering these items in. Now the 2 pieces of the white flowers that I got off of the bush from Joann, I made those more higher. Yeah. This is my first day, you know, using the words. I made those higher because I want them to be the focal point. I'm not going to slow this down because a lot of times I'm just pushing the flowers in to make an arrangement. If you're not comfortable with this and you're not sure, I would say don't use glue and just kind of place your flowers in as you go. I don't necessarily stick to any one theme or one process. I poke them in where I think they look good. If I don't like it, then I move them. And a lot of times, if I just go in with the hot glue, it's because I'm already pretty confident that I'm going to like it where it's at. Now for here, the orange ones, I had a second little sprig there from Dollar Tree, and I left these longer, and then I also made these a little bit taller so that it had more orange in the middle, and it also complemented the 2 white flowers that I left at a longer length. So that way I've got a nice smooth shape. It comes up in a dome, almost like the top of the egg is still there, but it's all made out of florals. And those little yellow guys, those long spiky yellow ones are perfect. I love the way it complemented. This turned out better than I thought. And I was worried that at first I wasn't going to like it because I was not doing too well with the rope. I thought, well, geez, I've already messed this first DIY up. But I think I like how it turned out. I think that any of the oopsies that I had an issue with aren't visible. And, you know, of course, I'm calling them out to blatantly show you, look what I did. Show me. I'll show you. This is, you know, things we can all run across, things that we can all try to improve on. But you guys tell me what you think and tell me what you would do. Or have you done something like this? What was your ways of, or your ideas of trying to cover some things up? Because I'm all about it. I love it. Now, here's our remaining pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on these 2 together for a bit, and then we will separate them down the line in the video for the 2 projects they're going to turn into. So what I wanted to do was, this is going to be a Mod Podge palooza. I am going to be using Mod Podge, and because of the color on the pink egg and the clear plastic on both of them, I needed to put a white layer down. So my idea here, which kind of panned out but didn't, you guys can... I want you to judge for yourself at the end and let me know what you think, if this was even because one of the processes, I end up using paint on both of them anyways. So I cut some plain white tissue paper into strips. These are 1-inch strips. I measured them to make sure that they would cover both eggs nicely, right? So I put 1 layer on, everything's going fine. And I'm just putting a somewhat decent coat of Mod Podge on. Now Mod Podge doesn't dry immediately, so you have time to work with it. And I just layer these 1-inch strips all over. I did probably a couple layers. Now I didn't let it dry in between, but once I got a good solid layer on that one, you can see the thickness on the left there. It's sitting down, it's drying. Then I started on the pink egg. Now the pink egg I had planned on leaving as a vertical piece. I planned on having it stand up straight. That didn't pan out because the plastic itself, the egg itself, was not even or level on that side. So it ended up being a horizontal egg, but she's still so pretty. Now, for me to cover these up to the point that the pink wouldn't show and also the clear wouldn't show, because there's a little bit of a green decoration on the side of this plastic one I'm working on right now. I just got my my home decor chalk paint out, and I painted it white. Both of these are completely dry. I let them sit for more than an hour. They're dry because there is a thin layer on there. So I painted them white because then now I'm not worried that my paint won't stick to anything plastic. My paint's actually sticking to our dried Mod Podge. So this is where I'm even happier. Ta-da. Now you can't see through the egg at all. And so we're going to work on our first project. This Dollar Tree sign that I got here says farm to table is gorgeous. It was a little crooked. The paper wasn't working out. And it's one of those ones where sometimes I find stuff and I would not change it. But I love the shape. I also love the design with the dowel at the top and the 2 pieces of ribbon. Now those are actual real tacks. They're not fake. I thought they would be glued on. I was going to try to pull them off with the heat gun. But I mean, Dollar Tree came through this time. This is a good sign. Very few times I'll find stuff that I don't want to change. And this one was one I was like, wish I'd gotten to. So what we're going to do is we're making a new base. So you saw me deconstruct it. I took off as much paper as I could. And we're going to cover it here with this textured scrapbook paper. If you can see here at the edge, I love this texture. It's like some of them have a white core, but I got this in a big paper pack and they all have colored cores. If you're a scrapbooker, you would know, like me saying that the paper thickness, when you cut through it, you don't see white in the middle. You see the same color. The core of the paper is colored, if that makes sense to you. And of course, if I'm wrong, please let me know. Go ahead and leave your scrapbooking tips and tricks and comments below. It'll be great because we all learn something new every day. So I just attached it with some scrapbook adhesive. It's a double-sided adhesive I get at Hobby Lobby. It's great stuff. It's a Glue Tech it's an Ad Tech. Wow, guys, today is one of them days where words just aren't my friend, man. It's an Ad Tech brand glue runner, and it's very permanent. I have never had a problem using it on any of my DIY projects outside of scrapbooking. I've never had a problem. Even inside of scrapbooking, I have a problem. So then I used a nail file. I got some pretty high grit nail files off of Amazon, very cheap. And they're coming in handy just like the finger sander. And I got the rest of all that extra scrapbook paper off of the outside. And now our sign is ready. Now this was my original plan, so I'm still sticking to it. But the white paint was very essential because if we put this tissue paper, I got that at Dollar Tree also, these beautiful florals they have out for spring. If you hadn't had a good base underneath it, white color, then you're going to see everything through it. And because it was clear, you would have seen the icky colored styrofoam that I'd stuck in there. And then you'd also see this little green flower detail that was printed on the outside of that plastic. Because remember, this is the larger one that had the green plastic base to it that we made the other arrangement out of. So for this one, I left the tissue paper solid and I smoothed it out as best I could. Now, I was going into this. I know there will be wrinkles. I know there'll be gathers. I was using it to my benefit because we have a pattern tissue paper here. You're not going to see exactly, all of that. If you're going for a smooth look, might not want to use an egg because the egg has those curved surfaces and you will never get a perfectly smooth surface on it. You're going to have gathers because of the shape. And now here with the edges on this extra tissue paper, I'm using my finger sander. Now that Mod Podge is not dry. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. At this point, I had no patience and I was not going to wait for the Mod Podge to dry, but because it was tissue paper, I am literally just pushing the edge of the sand in towards the inside of the egg. So I'm pulling the paper in towards it so it will not rip on the outside. I hope that makes any sense. You can see what I did here. As soon as I got the extra off, then I used my Mod Podge and I put a whole nice good coat. And I put a very decent coat on there and I let her dry. And nothing has come off of that. Nothing has chipped. So I think the double layering of the first layer of Mod Podge, then the paint, and then the second layer, I let it all dry. Went and had dinner, went and did some other stuff. Everything has worked out and I couldn't be happier. So in this instance, this was a success for me. It worked out great. Now we're ready to reconstruct the sign again. So I'm going to put it back the way it was. This is also the ribbon that came on the sign. It came off very easily. It didn't get ruined. I'm going to even out these little pieces here because I felt like, ribbon has to be straight. And then I'm going to take those little tacks that it came with and I'm going to hammer them back in. Goes right through the scrapbook paper and right back into the sign originally where they were. I'm just trying to make sure with the lining, the little measurement lines here on my mat that I have that dowel sign even so that it doesn't hang crooked. And there it is. The sign looks perfect again. So there's a way you can actually deconstruct that sign should you be able to find the same sign at your Dollar Tree, and we can do anything with it at this point. Anything. Now, you saw me just hot glue and attach the egg down. For an added layer, I wanted to put something on the outside. This looks amazing with it. This is an extra piece of scrap nautical rope. It's a Dollar Tree nautical rope. It's one of the thinner gauges of rope. It's not the thicker one. You guys take a look at it. It comes in different lengths and different thicknesses all the time. My Dollar Trees never get the same thing. You'll see 2 or 3 different kinds, but it's all just nautical rope in the Crafter Square section. After I get that glued down, the trend, getting the pieces to match up aren't that important. Then I used a lighter to get the fuzzies off. And that's basically it for the sign. Now, we're going to add some flowers because they make me happy. Now this right here, all combination. The purple girls are lilacs from Michael's. The white ones, I believe, are lilacs from Dollar Tree. And then let me see, the little white stuff off to the right there. I couldn't tell you where I got that. I don't remember. I'm using zip ties because I just cut about 4 pieces. I have some Amazon eucalyptus I've nestled in there in the middle. And I'm kind of just making a little swag. I put 2 zip ties around it, and then I'm kind of... You'll see me bending it there because I'm curving it to make it into its own little swag to go on top of the egg. Now, my little Dollar Tree girls kind of fell apart a little bit, so I reinforced them, glued them back down. They're not going anywhere now. And then I put some hot glue behind all of that. So I'm going to build my arrangement off of this base. I didn't use any styrofoam. You've seen me use styrofoam in the past. But in this instance, if I'd used some styrofoam, it would have turned into a bigger flower arrangement, and I didn't want it to overpower the egg. You let me know what your opinion is at the end. I want to ask you to let me know because I think I still did a little bit too much. I have a very, very common tendency to kind of go overboard with either ribbon or flowers. I think I did with the flowers. I love this, but this is my taste. I love big, fluffy, over-the-top bouquets and arrangements and florals. It just makes me happy. I can look at them for hours and days at a time. It just makes me happy. Now, this is a Christmas ribbon I got at Michael's, I think last year even, or maybe year before. And it's a beautiful, just a burlap ribbon with a buffalo check edge on it, and I love it. This is why I always say, when you're out for the holidays, don't let their marketing or their labeling sway you to think that this is only for Christmas, because this is a Christmas ribbon, but I am using it in an Easter project because this screams Farmhouse to me. And I think it's a perfect complement to everything we got going on here. Now I layered some other yellows and pinks in there. The pink flowers were from from Dollar Tree. The yellow ones were from Michael's. And I need to cover up this big glob of glue because I was layering the glue in the middle. You see that nasty white glob of glue. We're going to stepping in for that part of the support here is, again, my Hobby Lobby bright green Spanish moss. And I was able to just kind of cover that up with some glue. And then I am attaching my bow cinched in the middle with a Dollar Tree jute twine into that. I'm going to hold it down for some time because it does take a minute for the hot glue to solidify. And now I'm going to just keep tucking more florals and complementing here and there. I did add a couple more pieces of this Amazon eucalyptus down on each side underneath things. So this is glued to the actual pink scrapbook paper and a little bit to the nautical rope. I kind of just glued it then to the sign itself, so it's not glued into the arrangement, but it complements it. It's close enough. Nobody's going to see it unless they get their little grubby fingers in there and then they start digging in and dissecting. It's one of the things. If you can make things look the way you want them to, sometimes construction doesn't matter. And again, if you have people looking at your stuff in that kind of detail, then we have to question why those people are in our homes. At least I would. I'm like, excuse me, is there a reason why you're elbow deep in my floral arrangement, Brenda? When you said you were going to go wash your hands? Kidding. I took that off across the street. I don't even know. Sorry, guys. It's late in the day. I don't have an excuse. I'm just weird. But what do you guys think? I love her. She turned out so gorgeous. And I want to go get more of those signs because the prep wasn't even all that bad. Just taking it apart and sanding it all down. The shape of this sign is gorgeous. The style of this sign is gorgeous. We can literally apply all kinds of stuff. This would be great for 4th of July. We could put some stars on it. We could put a picture. We could do a American flag kind of thing for the 4th of July or Memorial Day. I'm thinking of all of the holidays that come up within the year. I would put pumpkins on that in a heartbeat. And Christmas, I mean, come on. This is a great base. But with the Dollar Tree egg, it turned out more... I was about to say more beautifuler. I'm telling you, when I sit down to do these voice recordings, for some reason, standard sentence construction just apparently leaves my brain. Anyways, look how beautiful that is. I love it. I love it. You guys tell me what you think, and what would you do? Would you be able to do the same thing, or do you think that you would change anything up? All right, now our last little girl here. This is the vertical egg. And now I'm decided to not Mod Podge. I went ahead and I have this craft fabric that I got at Dollar Tree within the Crafter Square section. I love this. I don't know, would you call, is that called ticking fabric? It's a striped fabric, and I love the farmhouse feel of it. So I'm doing the same technique I did with the Mod Podge and tissue paper, but we're just going to cut the strips of fabric. Now this is a scrap piece of wood that I've got at Dollar Tree, but just use a roller or anything you have. And then this is just a cutter. That's not, I don't even believe that's a fabric. That might be a fabric cutter. I'm not sure. I think I got that for scrapbook paper, but I'm just doing 1-inch strips again. And you can see I'm using my cutting mat below there. So I'm cutting literally just 1 square at a time. That's a 1-inch strip. And I cut probably maybe 6 or 8 of them at first just to make sure. And at first I was going to cut them in half, and then I realized this fabric is the perfect length. It reaches all the way around the egg, and it has a little bit of excess. So I just hot glued this on. And I'm putting enough, I'm pulling it tight enough, or taut, so that when I put it around the edge, you're not really having to run glue like I did on this one here, but that's because it's the seam. That's the seam where I glued it together in the beginning. Now I put a couple layers of Mod Podge and tissue paper below it, but I want to reinforce it because worst case scenario, if she ever pops open, then the whole thing might be ruined. But I've reinforced it to the point where she ain't going nowhere. And this fabric, these fabric strips have been tied or been pulled very, very tight. So I'm going to show you this one here in real time. So I started at first gluing on the top, but then I realized I'm going to put this down on its side instead of vertical. So I am now going to show you, I apply my glue to the bottom, and then I put a little bit of glue at the top, and I'm pulling that really tight. So I'm holding the bottom of it with my left hand, and with my right thumb, the excess fabric, as I pull it towards the top, I'm making sure I got a really good tight, not seal, but I'm pulling it down into the glue. Holding it there for a few seconds, the glue solidifies pretty quickly. It's not a big glob or a huge layer of glue. And then I'm just going to reinforce it. As the fabric layers on top of itself, you may have some ridges and some bumps, but you have the pattern in the fabric. Also, the fact that I let the fabric fray. If it was going to fray, I let it fray. You can fray it on purpose, or even find something that literally frays a lot, and it actually might lend more farmhouse to it. That would look beautiful too. But I was just letting it go as I just let it be. And if it was to fray, it would fray. Now, some of the pieces you could see some strings coming off. I left them. I thought it was pretty. I liked the way it looked. And then all I'm doing is just then after I do, I would say in a pattern of north, south, east, and west. And then from there, it's a star pattern. So I would go diagonally into the open empty spaces. So you'll see once I get those covered, I'm then going for the next white space that was open. And then at the end, we have a completely covered egg. And now we have a base for just about anything your beautiful minds can think up. Now I wanted there, that's the end. I wanted to put her standing up on this space here, but I ended up putting it sideways. So now the base of it, basically I thought of this. I have these square plaques that I got at Hobby Lobby. They're 4x4 and they come in a pack of 4. It says $4.99 on there, but I'm pretty sure I got it when all their woodpile stuff was probably 30 or 40% off, or 50. I couldn't tell you. I've had it for a while. So I took one out, and I've got my Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm going to just basically use my brush and a paper towel, and we're going to use the wax as a stain and bring out all the beautiful pattern and colors and all that wood grain. I love this Waverly Wax. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, people use it for everything, but I mean, to each their own, right? If you like something, then go with it. So I covered her completely in the wax, and then here's me some real-time dry brushing. This is my home decor folk art white chalk paint, and I'm just doing the edges. This is not necessarily a dry brush per se, but I'm just kind of dusting the edges here to give it a little bit of depth. We're going to glue lots of stuff on top of it, so there's no reason to cover more of it because you won't see it. Here's where I was trying to show you. It would not stand up on its own, and I didn't want to support it with just globs and globs of hot glue, so I decided it has a flat edge. It's laying perfectly. I'm going to go ahead and put it down. As soon as I did this and I started putting on this moss, by the way, this is a beautiful reindeer moss in the color chartreuse. I got this at Hobby Lobby also. It's a little bit on the more pricey side, but it's worth it. And again, every time I've bought anything at Hobby Lobby, it's always been on sale. Even after they got rid of their 40% off coupon, I have never bought anything full price at that store, I don't think. And if I have, it's probably been a pumpkin because I just had to have it. And it's because I know if I try to go back in a week, it won't be there because that's my luck. So I'm taking the reindeer moss and I'm just tucking it around the edges. But I'd forgotten that I wanted to put a really pretty complementing floral ribbon on here. So you could do that first, but if you watch what I did here, it turns out okay, and we don't actually waste the ribbon, because if you put ribbon around it, around the whole thing, you would end up wasting the ribbon on the bottom of the project where it's glued down. But you'll see here, as you can see where I'm measuring it out. I'm going to take the wire out of it because it's a wired ribbon. I got this floral ribbon here at craftoutlet.com, and then the purple one there is a paper mart ribbon, and I've had these for years, guys. I've had these for so long that it's probably pointless to even look it up, but find a complementing ribbon. I know you guys have these things in your stashes and they will look beautiful, but I just basically tucked it in and then added a little bit more, just a little bit more moss to the outside to cover that up. Now this one I had some excess, so I'm using my scissors. I'm kind of, scooching it in there, and then I'm using just a little plastic tool or a dowel or a pick or a pencil or something, and I'm just tucking it in. And then again, add a little bit of more moss just to kind of cover up any of that raw edge that might show. When it's all said and done, you cannot tell that I didn't mess up. I just forgot. So I'm technically saving myself, maybe 4 inches of ribbon because, I don't have enough. So now I'm going to take my Dollar Tree jute twine, and then I'm going to take a strip of the floral ribbon and then another strip of the paper mart ribbon. Now the paper mart ribbon here, this pink stuff, is not wired, and I like the floppy look for this. This isn't going to be a structured bow. So I took my strip of ribbon and I pulled the wires out. And so most of this, if it was wired ribbon, I pulled it out. I'm making that awareness ribbon shape, gathering it in the middle, and I'm doing the exact same thing with the pink bow. And I wanted it to be floppy with no ribbon, no structure, because I want it to drape over the edges of the egg. This is reminding me of like a Fabergé, like a Fabergé egg that would be on display. Of course, this is not a Fabergé egg. This is a plastic Dollar Tree egg with all kinds of pretty florals and happiness and super terrificness all over it. You know what I'm saying? This is just how it worked out. But I wanted it to look like one of those really pretty display eggs that you'd see. Like my grandma used to have different, what was it? I think it's called the Bradford. No, the Bradford Exchange was, I think, ceramic plates, like hand painted plates and stuff like that. And my grandma was huge on gorgeous, expensive porcelain dolls and plates, but she also had very beautiful porcelain figurines and eggs and birds and flowers. And I have a lot of those flowers, guys. I got those so that my grandma's memory lives on in my home. I love them. I'm losing the name of the company. It's a very well-known company that makes them. If you know what I'm talking about, leave that in the comments below. But I have some of my grandma's plates. I've got my grandma's figurines, and I've got some flowers. I didn't get any eggs, but I have some flowers, and they're gorgeous. So this is what I was going for, just on a little bit of a bigger level, and also on a budgeted level, because right now we are only in this for just under $5. I guarantee you it's under $5 for this. So as you see, I applied the row, and I made sure it was kind of just flopping down on the sides I wanted it to. I put some more of that reindeer moss around the edges of the bow, and then now I made a little jute bow right here, but I haven't glued it in yet. That was just gathered around 4 fingers, and then I gathered it in the middle of that bundle. And we're going to glue that on eventually. Apparently, I don't remember leaving it off, but we will glue that on the top. And now I'm layering just some florals around each side. This is the part that I kind of get a little tedious in. And I forget that I'm recording, and then I forget that I'm just taking way too long to do any of it. But whatever makes you happy, just keep going with it. When I make these little floral bundles on top, time gets away from me because I love it. And then I get up and go, oh, wait, I have something else in the other room. Oh, I have a flower that'll be perfect. These little white flowers are from Dollar Tree. I pulled them off of a bundle from Dollar Tree. The purple bundle I got, I couldn't tell you. It was either Michael's or Joann's many years ago. And then here's also another pick of some yellow flowers. And I want to say Michael's, but I think those are from Hobby Lobby. But if it's one of those things where you're a stickler and you want to know exactly where the supplies are coming from, a lot of times within my projects, you're not going to be able to get some of this stuff identical because it just doesn't exist anymore. Now, I know Hobby Lobby has a lot of the same stuff, Sometimes colors change, sometimes quantities change, but you can get all of this stuff at one store if you need it to be like a one-stop shop. You could make this whole thing from Hobby Lobby. It will cost you a little bit more. I'm not sure if you could do the whole thing from Dollar Tree. I know Dollar Tree does have some ribbons, but I'm pretty sure I've never seen 1.5-inch ribbon at Dollar Tree. I've only ever seen the real thin stuff, like 3/8, and then also like the 2-inch ribbon. But in any event, I'm just layering all these pieces, and then taking some more purple stuff. Now, these little long purple guys here, you can get something like it at Dollar Tree, but this, I believe, is a Michael's bundle, a bush that I got at Michael's. But I love how the longer parts are coming off of the arrangement, and they're draping down the side of the egg along with the bow. That was basically what I wanted to point out to you to make sure you see. My purpose and my idea once I decided to keep it a horizontal project was to make sure I could have these items draped down the side, and I'm hoping that you don't lose that it's an egg. My husband, he's the only person I can really ask since he's in my home with me. Since he's in my home with me, whatever. I said, can you tell it's an egg? And he says yes. But you know what, guys? I think he says that because he has to. It's like when you ask your parents, Mom, you think, oh, absolutely, it's beautiful. Well, you have to. I'm your child. I was like, give me some real constructive criticism, guys. Do you think that the egg is getting lost with the amount of beautiful, just floral gobbledygook that I'm putting on top? I think in this particular standing item here, I didn't lose the egg. I'm a little worried about that hanging sign. I think maybe the floral bundle at the top might be too big, but I love it so much that even if it is, I'm fine with it. If you can't tell it's an egg, I'm still fine with it. But what do you think about this? I love how it all came together. And a lot of times, guys, it is just absolute crafting chaos. I have an idea, I have a plan, and about 8.5.9 times out of 10, it goes a different way, but it still turns out so happy. Like, if you can have dumb luck, I will have dumb luck, but I will also still have the same mistakes and the same hiccups, and they still come and they show up in my craft room just like everybody else. So I want you guys to know I am so normal, it's not funny. I am so like you and everybody else. We have so much in common. You can do the same things, I promise you. I promise you can. Just try it. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you would do. Do you guys like any of these things I did today, or would you try any of them? Again, they are very easily obtainable. Those Dollar Tree egg containers I have seen every year for many years. And I tried to pick colors that weren't bright, but I mean, they're all spring colors. They're all bright. It is what it is. But the whole layering technique of the tissue paper and then the paint and then more tissue paper on one and then fabric on the other turned out great. This little girl here, the whole floral arrangement base, I wasn't sure about. It's not my favorite of the group. This girl right here is my favorite of the group. I love her. I love those flowers. I love those bright colors. This is like the best time of the year because you can get away with just a splash of every single color. It's just gorgeous. So gorgeous. I love this. So that's everything today, guys. Tell me what you think. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a coffee page, so anybody who has donated, I want to thank you 100% from my soul. If you think you've learned anything or you like my videos, consider supporting me on Buy Me a Cup of Coffee, and it helps me keep going. And with all that said, I love you guys more than I can possibly say in words. And I'm not just repeating that for an ending. I really do believe that. You guys are my fuel, and you keep me going, and I love you every second for it. So many, many hugs. Many, many thanks. Happy crafting. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And it's going to be a good one. We've got more Easter stuff coming. I promise you that. Hugs, guys. Bye-bye.